Hi, Arshi. Welcome to Conversations on Data.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having me here.
It is so nice to have you with me.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining in, taking out the time. So let's get started. We will obviously talk about a lot of things, your entire 2 year journey. As you are aware of, the target audience is business school students who are probably very early in their career and are still quite indecisive, not very sure what to do, what not to do. And I think pretty much those are experiences I'm sure you would also like to share with everyone.
Yeah.
So, let's start somewhere. So, just walk us through the decision for you to pick up the GBO program at SRCC. And how did you take that call? Like, was it the curriculum, what the seniors told you, or something else?
All right. So, firstly, thank you for having me here, sir. So, prior to joining GBO, I had a 2 years work experience working at Amazon, and the domain in which I was working was operations. So, having a considerate amount of experience, I thought that 2 years was good enough to understand that how does a corporate work. And I believe for doing an MBA, it's important for you to have some work experience. I mean, it's not a mandate, but it's good. It's an add-on that you have. So, considering my role was operations and GBO was something that provides you exposure in terms of international business operations. So, our curriculum is diverse. It's not just restricted to one specification. So, I thought that GBO would provide me a good amount of platform in order to expand my horizon out of operations as well into various domains like strategy, analytics, consulting, etc. And of course, SRCC has a good amount of brand legacy that's being attached to it. And considering the fact that I did my graduation from Delhi University itself, before also in BCom honors. So I always had a thing in my head that I want to do the GBO program from the SRCC. So hence, this made me do my decision to go into the GBO program. So I think SRCC is known for the world-class faculty, and considering the amount of placements, the amount of ROI that GBO offers is nearly 4x of what you invest into this course. I think this is equivalent or better than any B school that offers you. So this was also one of the driving factors of me to choose GBO as a course.
Awesome. Um, okay, let's talk about the first few months at GBO. Of
Yeah.
course, I met you guys. I'm one of the first people that you
Yeah.
meet on campus, but
Right.
um, highlight some key moments for me, some challenges, maybe not
Yeah.
challenges, but something that struck you, something that was overwhelming, something that
Yeah.
was exciting, especially in the first couple of months on campus.
All right. So, for the first month at GBO, we were, of course, welcomed by the value added courses, amongst you being one of the faculty in analytics. And then we had the value addition course in terms of strategy as well. So, I think that 1 month is important for you to understand that what's going on in the industry. We are being taught things which are very relevant as for what is the requirement of the industry right now. So, for your course as well, you taught us Power BI, Excel, Python, Tableau, VBR, etc. So, I think that also provided us an edge. Also, once we started off with the exact curriculum, since GBO is known for not having a single specialty, we were taught everything. So, for a person who hasn't been in touch with the college life for like 2 years, I found the timetable a bit hectic in the beginning. But then, obviously, once time passes, you adjust to what is being happening around you and you start enjoying the fact about the same. So, I think the key highlights would be from the very start of the course, we are being taught very specifically we have constant presentations, case competitions, then we have class discussion, etc., to keep us engaging. And also we have access to a good amount of information that's been going across us, so it's not just restricted to what's being taught to us, it's across the global landscape as well. So this helps us to be informed and to have a clear idea of what's going around. So, and also the faculty that teaches us is or are the ones who are teaching at all amount of good B schools as well, including you, and for a fact the other faculty as well who teach in good amount of IIMs like Ahmedabad, Calcutta, etc. So I think this was very exciting as a part of an MBA course. So the drill initially was hard, but then you eventually start enjoying it. Yeah.
All right. I want to dig a little deeper into this.
Yeah.
Is this something that, you mentioned it's very overwhelming in the beginning? Is this
Yeah.
something you would have done differently, or perhaps maybe some top 2 or 3 tips you would like to give to students who are
Yeah.
going to start their journey in a couple of months?
I think it's very important once a faculty teaches you. Firstly, it's very important for you to be informed of what you're being taught. And also, it's very important for you to ask questions of what you don't understand. So, at times, people just don't ask questions and they keep it to themselves. And then this eventually causes a problem during the exams or something. So, you should always ask questions. And second is, I think you should maintain a good amount of networking skills with your faculty as well, because they eventually help you in getting a good amount of live projects. Their guidance in different domains is also very impactful. So, and also the third thing is, I think you should actively engage into group projects. I mean, individual projects are good, but eventually the MBA is all about stakeholder management and the group management. So you cannot just strive individually. Of course you can, but then the added factor is you should know how to work in groups. So the best thing that we have in GBO is we have a good amount of group projects as well, which will help you understand the dynamics of how does it work. And you also understand the fact that how do you want to work in a team? Are you able to work? Are you not able to work? If not, then what are you lacking? And what do you require? So probably to fit in the group well. So I think these three tips are important. And also stay updated of what you're being taught. It's not like you pile up the information for the last. No, it doesn't help you. Stay updated, keep asking questions, and yeah, do read what's being taught.
Got it. Um, a lot of students still are very confused about what is the difference between an internship and a live project. And I know there's confusion because, throughout the year, we have students working with us in both capacities. Like in my head, I'm quite clear, but a lot of times students are not sure what they're getting into. So if,
Yeah.
and you've done both of that. So could you share some critical points of difference and similarity between a live project and an internship? And also, how should a student go about deciding what to do in the internship and what to do in the live project? Because, and I would love to know, should they corroborate what they have done in the internship with the live project so that they go deeper? Or
Yeah.
do you prefer that they do something different than live project so that they have a breadth of learnings coming from both places?
Yeah, so a lot amount of students who prefer to do an MBA are freshers. And I think before doing an internship, it's very important for you to do a live project. So under a live project, you work under the guidance of a mentor who assigns you project for you to enhance your skills. So I think live project is completely basis upon your self-learning. So let's say I did a live project with you in which we did the analysis of the products of the FMCG company, its operation
Right.
and marketing data. So I think this helped us understand that how does the analysis really work. So we worked upon developing the Power BI, Excel, etc. So Live Project provides you with the platform of understanding that how do you work when you're assigned a project, whereas internship is you work as the part of the team, you work upon the actual projects which the company provides you. So my internship was at DCM Shriram. So my project was related to a product launch of biofungicide since I was into the Shriram Farm Solutions product. I think I was fortunate enough to be a part of something that's a product launch, being an intern as well, because it's difficult to get into that part, but then I had a good amount of learning experience. So because of the fact that I had the experience of doing analysis due to the live project which I did under you using Excel and Power BI, this all together helped me in my internship as well. So I think everybody who wants to do an internship, it's very important for you to do a live project. I had a work experience, still I thought the need of doing a live project because it helps in understanding that what is it required at your end when you work under a team or a mentor. What does he expects from your end? And then probably you can enhance your skills and put them into your internship experience. So this is my take on it.
Got it. So a lot of students apply for live projects, right? And of course, I have my answer in terms of how they should go about it. But
Yeah.
I would love to know from you because an internship typically happens through the institute, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know a lot of students go out of college as well, but then typically it's through the institute.
Yeah.
Live projects, on the other hand, sure, some of them might happen through the institute, but
Yeah.
I think that's something students do in their own individual capacity.
Right.
How does a student go about finding,
Yeah.
curating and searching for the live project that is most appropriate for them, and how do they convert it?
All right. So I think the first thing you can do being a part of the course is to reach out to your faculty. This is exactly what I did by reaching out to you and one of our faculty as well. Second thing, what you can, since I would just like to cover the first point first, because your faculty knows your skills in a better way. So I think they would be in a better position to tell you that whether you fit for that particular life project or not. So I think there is no harm in reaching to your faculty at the first place. If at all your faculty is not able to convert it, of course they'll refer you to other people as well. So this creates a chain. Secondly, you need to be connected with your alumni network as well. So whatever your alumni have done in their companies, you should have a good amount of LinkedIn connections so that you can reach out to them that, hey, I am in the same college in which you have studied before, and I'm keen to work in the same profile in which you're working. And if it would be great if I could get a live project opportunity for the same. So these are the two ways in which you can do it. And of course, you can do it through your friends as well who have referrals into various companies in which they are working, considering the amount of networking skills and the people you know. Um, I think how you could reach out to them, of course, you need to be very specific when you create your CV. And before that, you need to be very specific in the domain in which you want to work for. So considering, I think one of the major reason why people do life projects is they need to understand that which stream do they fit in well. So I did life projects in three different streams. One was marketing, strategy, and then analytics. So as to analyze that which stream interests me the most and which I can contribute the most. So I think you need to be open to the profiles you're applying for. So do apply for the same, create a good specified amount of CV that states what you have done so that people can also understand that, okay, he or she has done this much thing and this is how they can contribute to our particular organization as well. And so that they can give you a chance. And I think you can always reach out to people on emails. You can always reach out to people on LinkedIn as well. And there is no harm in following up with the people if they are not able to respond to you. Anyway, you are going to gain through the experience they are going to provide you. So do follow up to the people whom you reach out to. Yeah.
Got it. It's very helpful. So we have spoken about live projects. I know you mentioned your internship, but I would like to again go a little deeper.
Yeah.
Internships are longer,
Yeah.
and they are super important
Yeah.
from the point of view of what you're going to say and present in your final, recruitment process. Um, Share something with us, about your internship journey. You did mention
Yeah.
the highlights in terms of what
Yeah.
you were working on, but tell me the between the lines, what's the challenge? What are certain things that students get wrong? What is that you were able to learn from, I'm assuming the other interns from other institutes over there?
Right.
Just help us speak and not just see what the obvious points are, but what
Yeah.
could help, another student when they apply for their internship,
Yeah.
some way down the road.
All right. So the company in which I did the internship was, of course, DCM Shriram. So this was the first company that came to the campus for the internship. And the profile they offered was marketing. So I got selected for that profile. So I would probably start with the interview. It's very important for you when you sit for the interview that you know about the company very well. Who is the founder? What are the streams in which the company is? What are the products the company is offering? You need to know about the same, the revenue, the entire income statement, etc. So that if they ask you, you should not be sitting blank because once you apply for the company, you're expected to know about the company. If not, then I think it's not a good thing about you to be a part of the interview. Second is you need to be aware of the profile in which you're offering, if in which you are interested to apply. So let's say if I was interested in applying for marketing, I read good decent amount of information about what marketing is, etc., etc. And also third is you need to stay confident in case if you have a work experience, please to provide the correct information about the same and be ready that you'll be cross-questioned about the same. Um, Once you get selected, so once I entered DCM Shriram, the first project I was a part of was under Shriram Farm Solutions, under which I had to be a part of the project of launching two biofungicides product under the biopesticide segments of Shriram Farm Solutions. So I worked under the branding and marketing team. So I worked upon developing the brand names, the fascia designs, I mean, all the intricacies of the marketing domain. So I think I would give you some key pointers which are very important for your internship experience. First is be in constant touch with your mentor. It's very important for him to understand what you're doing and for you to understand that what you're doing aligns with the objective of your internship project. Second is you need to be having a good amount of communication skills. You need to be open to getting the feedback, and also you should always interact with the people around you because they are more experienced than you and obviously they'll guide you in what you're doing in a better way. I think the third information is, see, I got the internship in the farm solutions domain and my stream wasn't agriculture. So it was something new to me. But I think being a person, being new to this domain, you need to have a zeal to learn. You need to understand that this is what you have in your plate and you need to, cook it and serve it in the best way possible. So this is one thing. So you need to have the zeal to learn. You need to have good networking and communication skills. You need to be constant touch with your mentors. So you have a mid review and then you have the final review. So under the mid review, you need to primarily show what you have done in this 1 month. So in which you are given the feedback, you are told that what are you expected to do for the next month. So make sure that you pull up your socks for the next month. Make sure that what your mentor wants, you are able to deliver it. And then once on the day of final review, make sure that, see, your foresight should be the other person hindsight. What you made in your presentation, you need to make sure that you're effectively able to communicate to the person who's taking your final review. Because in the end, that only makes the difference. If you're able to contribute effectively, no company would ever take a step back in offering you a PPO as well. So this is what I would like to tell you about the same.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about placement prep.
Yeah.
How did you go about it? How did you see people around you go about it? Is there a checklist that you should follow?
Hmm.
Is it something that every individual has to figure out for themselves? So share some tips on that.
All right. So, my I'm currently placed at HCL Tech. So, the reason why I applied for it, so the role was primarily consulting, and it had an analytics angle to it as well. So, I was pretty clear in my head that I want a placement in the area of analytics or in the area of consulting, and consulting also comprises a good amount of analytics as well. So, for me, I was very clear about the companies in which I want to apply for. So hence, it's very important to understand that what could be the requirements of that role from your end. So for that, you can obviously get in touch with your seniors who have sat in the same profile placement process to understand that what does the company offers you from the what does the company expects from you to be a part of their organization. Of course, you need to be aware of what is happening around you. You need to be it's important for you to understand that, let's say HCL is a tech company, so you need to understand that what's happening in the AI domain because it's been booming day by day. You need to understand that what's happening in the tech domain. So if they ask you, you should be in a position to probably answer the same question. So be aware of what's happening around you. It's very important for you to maintain a good amount of academic record as well, because most of the companies require a good amount of percentile as well to sit in the placement process. So it's not just about having a placement, it's also about maintaining a good amount of academic record as well for you to have a credibility attached to your CV, for you to get shortlisted. Because I think every person, there would be a lot of things that would be common in every other's CV, but I think some differentiating factors will, of course, be your academics, your achievements, and of course, your internship experience. So try to be actively involved across all the activities that happen in the college as well for your CV to get shortlisted. Make sure that you do well in the academically engaging front as well. So since I was the batch topper, I think this added an advantage to me while my CV got shortlisted because it creates a perception. But having said that, this is not the entire agenda. Your experience also matters the most. So yeah.
Got it. Let's talk about networking, your LinkedIn presence. How important was it for you, directly or indirectly?
Yeah.
A, and B, how do you suggest students should go about it?
So I think having a good active LinkedIn account is very important because firstly, you get to engage with the activities of the other people as well. You primarily are updated about what's happening around you. Let's say if you're searching for any live project, internships, etc. If you are in touch or with the alum network, or for a fact you're in touch with the people on the LinkedIn, you understand that what's going around and probably you can reach out to them. So I think networking, MBA is all about networking, the connections that you develop, because these connections are not going to help you in the short run, but in the long run as well. You can always reach out to them in case of any referrals you need while switching your jobs or any internships you want. And I think LinkedIn acts as a platform for connecting people. That's why it's the name LinkedIn. So you keep LinkedIn yourself, you're LinkedIn into the activities of other people. So once I joined MBA, I made sure that my account is really active. I kept posting about all the relevant things, about all the achievements, so that people also know that what I've been doing well. So that, let's say, people want to reach out to me, or if any recruiter wants to see my profile, then he or she understands the fact that this person has done this many things apart from the academic thing also. So, and also it helps you be looped in into all the activities that are happening across you. So it's very important for you to have a LinkedIn account.
Got it. Um, so I know for a fact that you were very active in the public relations cell and
Yeah.
other student bodies. Um, why did you do that? I mean, was it a conscious decision? Did you feel it is going to help you in some way? And how did it end up helping you?
So I think it was a very conscious decision, firstly, to be a batch representative, of course, because I wanted to be a bridge between the faculty and the students. And it helped me also to develop good connections across the GBO office, the faculties and the students. And second is, it was again a very conscious relation to be a part of public relations cell, because I found myself to be good. I did the self-evaluation. I found myself to be very good at networking, plus in communication skills. So I thought that this could be the best place I could leverage. So, as a part of public relations cell, of course, you are engaged into the marketing of your organization. You're engaged in conducting the industry interactions. And when you conduct the industry interactions, you develop a good amount of relation with the people whom you are calling for the industry interactions, which eventually you can convert for a good amount of placements, internships, or live project for your class only. So being as a member of public relations cell, we conducted a good amount of events. Let's say our flagship event is Yuganto 2025, where we call upon the personalities and the business tycoons across different sectors. So this helps in our networking as well, and also the students who are the part of the event can also network with them effectively. So we have interactions as a part of public relations cell with the NDTV as well, which anyway increases the visibility of our course. Then recently we had interactions with companies like Bombay Shaving, we held competitions, etc. So the entire idea about public relation, being a part of public relations cell is, firstly, I had in my mind that the best way I could contribute to GBO, of course, was firstly marketing, and secondly, as a good batch representative. Hence, I chose these two roles. Secondly, is it helps you develop connections with the people whom you're calling for the interactions, and also the students who are the part of the interaction can also get in touch with the faculty or the industry experts who are being called upon. So which eventually, if at all you're not able to convert a live project or internship, of course you can get their guidance. You can reach out to them on LinkedIn, and then probably they would be more than happy to guide you also. So we had people coming from the international domains as well. So from the University of Texas or Virginia University, etc. So this is the kind of exposure you get once you're a part of a PR cell. So this is the main reason why I thought of being a part of it.
Cool. So Ashi, this is an unfiltered conversation, right? And I have to ask you this. So I'll share a story with you. So when I was in my MBA, I went to ILM University, Gurgaon.
Yeah.
Delhi boy. Okay, maybe not the Delhi thing, but sure. I mean, as an individual, I was fairly well read. I could articulate myself quite well. And
Yeah.
that's one of the skills I had, right?
Yeah.
It's a different matter that after I started my MBA, I realized that it really doesn't amount to much because there are so many other factors that come into play. And INM had students typically from Punjab and Haryana, a lot of tier two cities.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm talking about 2007, right? So this is 18 years back.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that a lot of them, and I was staying in a hostel, a lot of these students would feel a little underconfident, because just the way I would talk, the way I would communicate, quite confident. They just felt that they were very hesitant. They felt that, oh, Havish speaks such wonderful English and he has a fantastic vocabulary. I, for one, never really cared about it much, but I know that it mattered to them a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what happened after we had tri-semesters, right?
Yeah.
After I had the first tri-semester, that is when I realized that, that quiet boy who probably can't speak very good English is topping his subject in quantitative techniques, right? And that was a very humbling moment. I mean, I would like to believe I was always humble, but it was still a humbling moment because no matter what, a lot of students still pay a lot of attention to somebody who's naturally very eloquent.
Yeah.
Right? And you, for example, I've known you for a while. I like that. It's not that you or I are faking it. It's just that naturally we talk a lot. We tend to talk a little faster.
Yeah.
And there is still that typical Indian perception around, oh, somebody's speaking faster, has a good vocabulary. It just means that they connotate it with a lot of other good things.
Yeah.
In reality, it means nothing because when you're in the company, in an internship or in a job, no one cares, right? I think it's the clarity of ideas, the hard work that matters.
Yeah.
So like I said, this is an unfiltered question.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that, in your MBA journey, did you feel that a lot of students who were probably coming from a variety of different backgrounds felt that this is like a, something that holds them back, something which is a negative for them or a handicap for them?
Yeah.
So I would like to get the answer to that question before I do my follow-up.
All right. So for the people who are coming from different backgrounds, I think once you enter into an MBA batch, there's a huge variation about how people communicate. So there are people who will be communicating very nicely. There are people who are not confident about how they come up on the stage. So there's a good amount of stage fear that exists in the people. So I think I've seen people grow from the start of this course to now. I think what has majorly helped is the amount of presentations. I think MBA is mostly about making presentations. And once you work as a part of group team and your faculty requires you to come up and speak in front of them and not just one or two persons speaking amongst the entire group, it develops a sense of confidence in you. And I think it's very important to appreciate the other person who has taken this much to come up on the stage and speak. So I think it's important for you to recognize the effort of that person so that it doesn't go unnoticed. And once that person feels that his effort is recognized, so he also develops a sense of confidence, okay, that I can do it. So I think we are very particular about this thing that whenever a group presentation happens and whenever a person comes up and speak who doesn't speak that much, we need to appreciate them with a round of applause. So I think this is the least you can do. And of course, I think helping most of the people do not feel confident about the way they should communicate their idea. So most of the people, what they do is they read what's being written on the slide. So I think as a part of the group, you should always make the other person understand that, okay, this is how you can speak it, or maybe you can speak what you understand. It's not just about reading. Even if you speak two sentences looking at the audience, I think it's good enough to make an eye contact with them. And once you start doing it on regular basis, I think I've seen people grow from saying nothing to saying everything. So this is one thing that I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same sentiment. I think the 2 year journey is quite transformational in that way. Cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm quite happy with that answer because it's good to hear that from you,
Yeah.
right? Of course, I've become old with years of experience and
Yeah.
I have a certain mindset, but I think it's good to hear it from you because you're fresh out of college. And I
Yeah.
think it's important for everyone to take some takeaways from that. Because
Right.
see, at the end of the day, it's all group effort, right?
Yeah.
It's healthy competition. Of course, you
Yeah.
are all competing with each other for the
Yeah.
same projects and the same grades and the same
Right.
internship. But at the end of the day, you have to, it's a win-win. You have to help each other grow. Uh, but at the same time, you have to compete with each other, you know? So that's
Yeah.
the situation you're in.
Yes.
Awesome. Great, Ashi. I think I had a wonderful chat. So we ended up talking about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
One final bonus question on analytics I have to ask you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you did mention that in your internship you were in a marketing role, but I believe at ACL you will have a marketing and some bit of analytics in it. Is it?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Perfect. What advice would you give to the upcoming batch? Like, what is it that they should focus on in terms of analytic?
Yeah.
What is it that you did? What is the journey that you went through when it
Yeah.
came to learning the tools? And what tools is it that you have to learn?
All right. So when I entered GBO, I would be very frankly saying that one tool that I know was MS Excel, and then it was PowerPoint. Because in Amazon, I never had that much of chance of engaging into queries and everything. But that said, I think in today's scenario where technology is booming, where AI is coming up, we understand that how ChatGPT works and many more AI platforms. It's very important for you to be informed. I think you need to be very well versed with advanced Excel, not with the basic Excel, but with the advanced. Adding a macros factor to it is always a plus plus. And second is you need to know the language SQL mandatorily, advanced SQL. You need to know how Python works, advanced Python. Then you need to understand how Power BI work because it's a visualization tool which you will be using multiple times. So in my entire internship, I used Excel and Power BI. So you need to understand how to make dashboards, etc. on Excel. Um, you need to understand how Tableau works. So I think these are the specific tools. Of course, you can obviously use ChatGPT for helping you in writing queries, but I think you will be only able to understand the queries if you understand that how does the queries are made. So anyway, ChatGPT should be used as a source of assistance and should not be relied upon completely. Even if it does a fantastic job, it's very important for you to understand that how does the code function. So for me, analytics has really helped because it provides you a good amount of good picture of what is happening and it makes your job very easy. I mean, you can just analyze the data in seconds using the formula or dashboard rather than just doing it manually. So, and anyway, I think no person or an organization would appreciate you calculating the data manually. I think this is not seen as a good sign. You should understand that these tools are made for assisting you to make your job easier, to make your job faster, and for you to stand out amongst a bunch of people. Everybody would be, see, there's a lot of competition where everybody is learning everything. So I would say that you should focus upon learning the primary things. Let's say you should focus upon SQL, Python, advanced Excel, Power BI, Tableau. I think these five tools plus ChatGPT, and then you have Copilot, etc. So that is again an added factor. But these languages and these tools you should be very well versed of, so that if anybody comes up and asks you a question, you should be in a position to do it. And of course, you should be able to do your task quickly and more efficiently, so that your manager or something appreciates you for the same. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Ashi. I had a pleasure. I hope this will have at least some takeaways for everybody who
Yeah.
listens to it.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking out the
Thank
time.
you for having me here, sir. It was great interacting with you. And I hope that I would be able to serve the purpose for which I was called on this call.
All the very best.
Thank you so much, sir.